All right, we are live, GHL Mastery. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, if you guys are watching this live on the Facebook page or you're watching the replay on YouTube, just let us know in the comments that you're here. We like to know that when we're doing stuff like this, people are watching it and they're getting value out of it. And today we are going to be covering a topic that we probably get asked the most questions about inside both the free group and inside of our private group, which we've got a bunch of our private group members in here on the call as well. They're all just too shy to turn their cameras on. Calendars. There's so many different functions of calendars that we have available to us inside Highlevel. And each one of those calendars comes with their own little nuances of setup structures and making sure that things are happening the way that you want them to happen. So today we are going to go over pretty well all of them from start to finish. And that means right from user integrations getting set up to user configurations, all the way up to the 4 different types of calendars that you can set up. What are the use cases for them? What are the purposes of them? And kind of what use cases you should be using them for. So with that being said, we are going to just go full tilt because there's a lot to cover here. And for this particular training, I actually created a brand new Gmail account because I was like, you know what, let's literally just start fresh so that I can show everybody kind of how this structure all works and functions. So we're literally going from scratch. I've got the user profile added, but I don't have any of the integrations done. So we're going to do it all from the beginning, right out of the gate so that you guys can fully understand and grasp calendars and what they do. So Brendan, you ready to rock and roll?
Yeah.
Cool beans. Let's do this. Okay. We're going to dive in and share the screen. So most of you guys are probably familiar with this page here, calendars. We're going to ignore this for now, and we're going to kind of dive into the overall calendar settings and structures. But before you get into the calendar settings, it's important that you also understand the user configurations that need to happen here. So I'm going to actually jump into calendar settings, and I'm just going to show you guys, we've set up all the different types of calendars here. So we got a round robin, simple or event calendar, collective booking, and class booking calendars. And those are the default calendars that you get when you try to create a new calendar. So I've already created them just because I wanted to save a little bit of time, but here are the steps that we have to go through before we get there. And this first one is extremely important that you understand this one concept because I'm going to show you what's going to happen if you do it wrong. We're going to go to integrations. And now integrations, you need to do this to get your Google profile added to the system. Now, if you've got new clients and you're onboarding new clients or new clients are onboarding themselves through Launchpad, I believe, don't quote me on this, but if they connect to this using their Gmail account, it will integrate their Google profile. It is a little bit confusing because this is specifically GMB, but if they go in and they connect to their Gmail account, it will do this as well. But what I typically will do in onboarding calls is I will get people to go to integrations, and then I will get them to do the integrations themselves. And I say themselves, and that is very, very important. If they don't do it themselves, logged in from their own system, you're going to have integration problems. And I'm going to demo that right now. I'm going to log in. I'm logged in as myself. So I'm logged in as the agency owner. And here's the new email address that I just created. So we're going to log into that and we're going to give this access to our calendars. And then I'm going to show you the problems with it. Because I, Adam McInnes, was the user that was logged in when I did the integration, this integration will actually not be available to me, the agency user, to actually configure into a user profile. So I want to show you just kind of the downfalls of that. We're going to go into my staff and we're going to click edit. And then we're going to go down to user calendar configurations. Oh, see, I did this before to test it and now it's here anyways. But if I, the agency owner, did this the first time and I had never integrated it before, you would not be able to see any of this calendar information. And what you actually need to do is have the users log in and integrate their Gmail profile first. So they have to be logged into their Highlevel user account, and then they have to go into integrations and integrate their Google account in order for this information to populate here, which will be very, very important very soon. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to flip over and I'm going to log in as GHL Mastery right here so that you guys can kind of see what the user experience would be and how the user would need to set it up. And then I'm going to actually go back into my agency because there's another thing that you guys have to do or the admin has to do here. So we're going to go into my profile and technically before we do this, what they should have done is gone to integrations and then integrated their own Gmail account, which in this case, this one is done. But now we can go over to my profile and we can start to set up a couple of different things for this specific user. First and foremost, obviously, you guys understand hours of availability. Each individual user can set this for themselves. And a quick example of that is our operating hours are 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. But I'm a dad, so my availability is actually 9:15 to 3 because I've got to drop my kids off at school and I've got to bring them home. So nobody can book me before 9:15 and nobody can book me after 3 o'clock. So these are individual user settings that they will have to set up on their own profile. The other ones are Zoom. This one, we have been having issues with it in the last couple of days. I don't know if I will be able to connect this because I'm literally on it right now, but we're going to try and see what happens. Yep, sign in, good to go. And yeah, let's allow. Here we go. Okay, so my Zoom account's already integrated with other accounts, so it's not going to work. But why would you want to do Zoom integration? Zoom integration, what it will do once you've connected it, if you come up in the user profile and you set your default meeting location to Zoom, this will actually create a new individual Zoom link for each appointment that gets booked with that user. So that's what Zoom's going to do. Now, there's other ways around this. And one of the other ways around this is that you can actually do custom and then you can actually paste. I'm just going to grab this Zoom link for fun. We're going to go copy Zoom link on this one. And you can actually just paste the Zoom link directly in there. And that will also make the default calendar location your personal Zoom link for that user. And again, this will all make more sense once we start to dive into it. Now, the last thing that you've got to do is you've got to go to your user's calendar integration or configuration. Now, I did this on purpose. Inside my Google Calendar, I created the default calendar, which gets created when the email gets created. And I also created a calendar demo 1 and a calendar demo 2 because I want to show you a couple of very important things. Sometimes people have, multiple Google accounts or email accounts that they're using. You need to make sure that if there's duplicates or you want to make sure that you avoid duplicate appointments, that you do the following. So we're going to go and we're going to pick our primary calendar. So I'm just going to click edit. I'm going to say that the GHL Mastery VIP Gmail account is the one that I want. And which calendar do I want to be my primary calendar for my user? So GHL Mastery, this calendar here is this calendar right here, which would typically be my default. Allow contact creation. What this will do is if you've got two-way sync turned on with your calendars, it's only going to allow contact creation from that specific calendar. And you can either choose to run the trigger, which would be run the workflow, or don't run it. I typically will turn this off and I will allow the workflows structures to actually run these triggers myself. So this is kind of a typical setup for me. You're going to pick your default calendar that you want for this user to allow contact creation and whether or not you want to run the trigger or not. So I'm going to click save. And now we're going to go into check for conflicts. And this is really, really, really important. I want to check for conflicts in both of these calendars. And one of the other things that you can do, if you've got two different email addresses that both have individual Google calendars, you need to make sure that you share those calendars inside Google in order to get these things to be able to be checked for conflicts. So if you do have a shared calendar, you will see additional calendars down here that you can select from your other Gmail account. And you're going to want to make sure that you do that, especially if you're booking in both of those types of calendars for different reasons. So I'm going to check for conflicts in both of those calendars right now.
So a quick little use case of that. A lot of people will have like their work calendar and their family calendar.
Yeah.
Well, your family calendar, you don't want the work appointments to be booked in, so that's the first one. But you want to check for conflicts in family one. So like Adam's case, he's got to go pick up kids, things like that. It will block off those time frames in future so that it he won't have conflict there.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit different. I literally put all of my life in my work calendar. So even Brendan can see whether I've got hockey for my son or,
Mhm.
my wife's working that day and whatnot. So all of my personal stuff is also in my business calendar because I want to make sure that nobody can book me if I've got something going on. So it is super important to set those things up.
Mhm.
So this is kind of step one of any kind of calendar structure for all the different calendar types is to integrate the Gmail account that you're operating with for that specific user. And I want to make that very, very clear that I'm logged in as the user right now. That user needs to go and set up their integrations. If you do it as an agency owner logged in, none of this stuff will actually show up. It won't be available to you as the agency owner of the account. So the user themselves has to set up their integration in order for everything to populate and show up. Now I'm going to switch back to my account and I'm going to show you, actually, I'll move on to simple calendars first, and then I'm going to show you user calendar configuration and setup. So now let's go over into our calendars and let's talk about simple calendar or event calendar and kind of what this structure is. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the link and I'm going to open it up. And I've set all of my calendars to Neo, which is the new version of the calendars versus the simple calendar. I think it looks a lot better. So event calendars sync to a specific calendar in your Google profile. They are simple and easy to set up and can be linked to an individual or user calendar. So what does that actually mean? What does that actually look like? Well, let's go into the calendar settings. And we're going to do most of the setup training inside this one, and then we'll kind of breeze through it in the other ones. There are a couple nuances in the other ones that we will cover, but the event calendar is pretty easy to do. So let's go. We're going to create the calendar name, right? Simple event calendar, and then the description, which you guys just read. And then if you want to assign this to a calendar group, which I'll actually create a calendar group later and show you guys what this is all about. But you can assign it to the calendar groups. Currently, I don't have one. You need to create a custom URL for this booking widget. And these custom URLs are actually shared Highlevel wide. So if you're using, and I'll show you a perfect example of this. If I delete the numbers, this slug has already been taken. So somebody else in the Highlevel ecosystem is already using simple dash calendar. So you need to make this completely unique in a way that nobody else is actually using it in the Highlevel ecosystem. You've got your meeting invite title. So what I typically will do here is I will do the contact.name and then I'll do dash what this calendar is all about. What's it for? Is it an event? Is it a personal meeting? What is it? I'm just going to do this simple calendar because I want you guys to see how it all works out. And then meeting location, you can set this to be whatever you want. Now, this is going to be a default setting. And if you guys recall from 2 weeks ago when we covered custom values and custom fields, this will become a custom field value for appointment dot location. So whatever you put in here, you can then use in your workflows for the appointment location. And that includes things like a Zoom link or an address or whatever the case may be. So you can set the simple calendars meeting location however you see fit really at the end of the day. And then you can pick your event colors and these will show up in your actual calendar as those colors. So I'm going to make the simple color red. We're going to hit save and we're going to move on to, that's Brennan's color. We're going to move on to availability. Now this is the availability of the individual calendar, not necessarily the individual user, because as you guys remember, we set up the user's availability in the user profile. So this is actually going to be this calendar's availability, which you can set up to technically conflict with the other one, although it won't because the user has specified that, no, I'm not bookable during these times. So we've got our standard availability, which is totally what I do 99% of the time. You can select which days you want to be available, and you can select which times you want to be available. Now, this is something that some people may or may not know or do. Let's just say I start work from 9:15, as I mentioned, and I am going to take a lunch break. So I don't want anybody to book me between 12 and 1. So I'm going to set my first one to 9:15, my second one to 12, and then I'm going to add a time. And I'm going to add 1 p.m. to, and then for me again personally, 3 p.m. Now, what this is going to do is it's just going to always have that 12 to 1 slot blocked off so that nobody can actually book me for those times. And if I want to do that every single day of the week, I'm just going to go copy to all. And now I've got that setting for every single day of the week. You can also obviously create custom times that you're available. And an example of that is that Brendan and I typically, unless we do it ourselves, we are not available on Thursdays because Thursdays we're building stuff and we're making some cool things. So you can just choose which days you want to have availability in those calendars. For this, I'm just going to turn that back on. You can allow this to be a recurring meeting if you want. And by turning that on, you're going to get how often do you want it to repeat? How many times do you want it to repeat? And then if the slots are unavailable, what are you going to do? Are we going to continue to book or book the next slot available for your recurring meetings? Now, this is something that I don't typically use very often. I usually, if I have a recurring meeting, I'll set them up in my Gmail calendar. It's just a lot easier. Meeting intervals. How long is your meeting going to be in your calendar for is what this means. So it's going to be 30 minutes. Sorry, back that train up. Meeting intervals is how often can I book a meeting? Can I book it at 9, 9:30, 10, 10:30? Meeting duration is how long are those appointments going to be? And then we've got our minimum scheduling notice, which is going to be how many days out is my calendar availability going to show? Now, back when I was doing lots of marketing for real estate agents.
That's minimum notice, which means how soon from time now can somebody book?
Right. Sorry, I moved ahead one.
You're ahead.
I'm talking date range already. So
yes.
minimum scheduling notice is from right now. How long do I have to wait to be able to book a call?
So
and
you set
here's
that to 12 hours.
I was just gonna say that. You're stealing my thunder, man. Come on. Now let me give you an example of what we were just bickering about, Brendan and I, who do that all the time. If my minimum scheduling notice is 1 day, then that will mean as of right now, it is 1:20 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Nobody will be able to book me until actually 2 p.m. the next day. And so one of the tricks that you can do if you want to make sure that your calendar is actually available the next morning is to make this hours and make it 12 hours. So that would mean that my next open availability would actually be at 1:20 a.m., although the calendar is not set until 9 a.m. So the next appointment could be booked at 9 a.m. the next day. So just keep in mind that, minimum scheduling notice will prevent them from booking within that time frame on the minimum scheduling notice. Now on to date range, where I should have been before. Date range is how many days out can somebody actually book in your calendar. When I first started using Highlevel, when I was doing marketing for real estate agents, I just had this wide open. And if you've ever done Facebook lead gen, you know that there's a bunch of idiots in there that just will fill out a form and then go to a calendar and then book something. And I was having people in January booking into like March, April, and May because this was just wide open. And so one of the things that you may want to do, especially if you're doing any sort of lead gen as an agency, is limit the date range that people can actually book so that it has to be booked, within 7 days or within 14 days, but they cannot book, months out. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to do that. So let's actually just, for this case, let's limit it to 14 days.
Now I want to put a little notice on this. So let's say your minimum scheduling notice is 3 days. You want to give yourself a buffer there. And your date range is 14. That means they have 11 days that they can book because it's 14 days from time now. And it's 3 days out from time now. So that's what they're always referring to time now when somebody gets to your calendar.
You got it. Maximum bookings per day. If I only want to take 4 calls per day in this calendar, once those 4 appointment slots are booked, that day is now written off on the calendar. Nobody else can book me for that day. And then maximum bookings per slot. Now, in a simple calendar structure, I genuinely don't know why this option is even here, because you're only able to book one appointment in a slot for an individual unless you want to allow multiple people to join your call, which also wouldn't make a whole lot of sense because then you're using the wrong calendar, which which we'll get into in a little bit. So maximum booking slots, maximum booking per slot. You can increase or decrease this if you want multiple people to be able to.
I think the reason they do this here is because it's also considered an event calendar. So let's say this was a webinar that had a specific time slot. That would be kind of what it'd be used for, but this really isn't the way to do a webinar booking anyways.
Yeah, you'd
So,
want to do a different calendar structure for sure.
absolutely.
And then your buffer time, this is also super important. So for me, what this means is I've got a meeting interval of 30 minutes and I've got a meeting duration of 30 minutes, meaning again, these meetings are 30 minutes long and you can book me at 9, 9:30, 10, 10:30, 11, and so on and so forth. Buffer time will allow you a gap between each booked appointment. So while this is actually exactly how my calendar currently is set up for my 30-minute appointments, is that I have a 30-minute meeting and then I have a 30-minute buffer in between my meetings, because oftentimes we're doing some custom stuff that usually will take a little longer than 30 minutes. And so this actually gives me a full hour to kind of do my meeting, breathe, get a coffee, drink some water, eat some food, which I always forget to do. This will just basically, if somebody books me at 9 o'clock, their appointment's going to be from 9 to 9:30. Nobody will be able to book me between 9:30 and 10 at this point. So that's what the buffer time is. I use it all the time in every single one of my calendars because I always want a little bit of breathing room between my appointments. So there is your calendar availability. And next up, we're going to go to forms and payments. So obviously, with the emergence of A2P, consent checkbox is now a default setting inside every single calendar. So you can customize your consent message. And then you can also turn sticky contact on if you want to do so. And this will actually, if the customer already exists in your CRM and they click your calendar link from any one of your emails or text messages, their contact information will be pre-populated on the actual booking link itself. This is also a relatively new feature, the ability to add guests to the appointment as well. So this is only less than a month old, and it's actually something that I've never used. But allowing them to add the name and email of a guest for this meeting is also now available to you. And then your confirmation page default, you can set this to be, this is what it's going to be by default. You can set this to be whatever you want it to be. And just like we covered last week with forms and surveys, your funnel settings, if you put this in a funnel, will override these settings here. So you can, in a funnel, when you put a calendar in it, you can choose to use the calendar settings, which will use these settings by default, or go to page or go to URL from the funnel itself. So very rarely do I actually.
Thinking we do.
Yeah, I don't think we ever use just these
never use those
settings here. Now, the reason that you might want to set some of these things up is if you're sending people, this raw link just like this, then yes, maybe you would want to have a custom thank you message in your calendar settings or send them to a thank you URL page from here. And then you can also put your pixel IDs in here. And then this is one that a lot of people don't quite understand whenever we talk about calendars, is auto confirming the calendar. Now, for the sake of this training, I am going to not auto confirm the appointment, and I'll auto confirm all the other ones. But most of the time, I auto confirm my appointments because I know that in my calendar, if there's a slot available, I'm available. That's just the way that I do it. So I auto confirm all of my appointments. For our contractor clients, we don't. For our contractor clients, it is an appointment request because they may not actually have availability that day or in that time slot to go and meet with a customer, and they may have to reconfirm and reschedule the appointment. So that's kind of why you would want to do this. And I'll show you actually what that does when we actually go and book an appointment on the calendar.
The biggest use case is if you have a client that has a secondary CRM that they use for a lot of their stuff, Most of those would be for like the practitioners, the dentist, the chiropractors, massage therapy. They have their own CRM that they put their bookings into. So this becomes a request. They check their other CRM and they come back for a confirmation.
Yeah. All right. So this is another one that confuses a lot of people. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to leave all of this off for this particular one. And then I will start to turn individual ones on when we actually get to booking some of the appointments, just to show you guys what they do. But generally what this does is it will send an acknowledgement email that an appointment was booked, and you can send it to the contact, which will be an internal email from Highlevel, not from Highlevel. It'll be from your custom mail domain that their appointment has been confirmed. Now, if you're using workflows to send confirmations, then you can turn this off, because otherwise they'll end up getting 2 notifications. Guest. So again, if you allowed a guest, you can send them a notification saying that, hey, you've been booked into this appointment. This one, in this use case, I would actually turn on, because the guest, haven't tested this, probably won't go into the workflow to get the notifications, but we can obviously test this. And then emails. Who else do you want to send this to? You can set that to the user's email if you want. And then allow Google Calendar to send invitation. Now, this is separate from Highlevel. This is actually the Google Calendar notification saying that this call has been booked and is on your calendar. So this is not a Highlevel function. This is a Google Calendar function. And I'm sure many of you are fairly familiar with getting those notifications when an appointment gets booked in your calendar. All right, so the next step is connections. And this is where the simple calendar or the event calendar is a little bit unique from all of the rest. And this is where, as we talked about, I've got these 3 different calendars. I've got my primary, and then I've got my 2 demo calendars here. So this is where you get to decide which calendar I want to book it into. Now, if you have multiple users logged in to their integrations are set up, you will see multiple Google Calendar options here. And then you can select which calendar you actually want this to get booked into. So let's just say in this case, I want them booked into calendar 1. And then here is a question we get all the freaking time. What is the difference between one-way and two-way sync and smart? I'll be honest, I'm not that smart. I don't know what smart actually does. I think it may be if the contact already exists, it won't do anything. But one-way sync, in the simplest terms, allows high-level appointments to write to your Google Calendar. So only high-level to Google happens. Two-way sync will allow Google, if you go and you book an appointment in your Google Calendar, a two-way sync will allow that contact email to get put into the CRM. So it will now go from Highlevel to Google, and then from Google to Highlevel as well. Now, the biggest caution that I will put on anybody that's considering turning on two-way sync: only ever have two-way sync turned on one calendar. And if you have two-way sync turned on that one calendar, make sure that no other calendars are connected to it. And the reason for that is because if you book an appointment with a two-way sync and multiple calendars are connected, they will get auto confirmations for every single calendar that you have tied to that Google Calendar. So an example of that is if I go back to connections, and I have my main calendar set up. Well, my main calendar and my calendar 1 and calendar 2 are all connected in this case. So if somebody goes and books me in calendar 1, and this is linked to my main calendar, the two-way sync will fire that notification. So typically, if you're going to ask me, hey, what do I do? I don't ever have two-way sync turned on.
One-way sync is the only thing we use.
I don't really see a valid use case unless you're just a single person with a single calendar and you want every single contact that you book into your calendar to end up in your Highlevel account. That's the only time that I would ever turn on two-way sync.
And so here's the reason why two-way sync isn't that useful. Let's say I'm sitting there, I've got a dentist appointment for my son, and I put in on my calendar dentist appointment. Now that becomes a right to go high level and it's creating a contact and all this other information, it creates a mess.
Yep.
So that's why we just like, no, it's so much easier. One-way sync, go right to the Google Calendar. It'll read the appointments on the Google Calendar so it doesn't make conflicts.
Yeah. Now, this right here, as you guys can all see, this is new. This may be why my Google Zoom link functionality wasn't working, because they were obviously doing updates to calendars, and I'm going to show you a couple cool ones that they actually did. So let's actually go and put this on here. I want to see what it does. I have no idea what it does. Might have been too big, so it does nothing at this point. Let's go and grab some GHL Mastery logos and put it there. Let's see what happens. Oh, that one worked.
That's lesson 2.5.
Calendar style. I showed you this one already. This is the Neo style, which I personally prefer. I think it looks super clean. Let's change it to classic, and then let's go from there. Insert custom code. So this is Brendan's territory, where if you wanted to stylize your calendar, change the colors,
That
change
is
the
CSS.
buttons, this is all custom CSS code to change the look and feel of your calendar itself.
I kind of wish they put CSS on there because it is only CSS. Just by saying the word code, you know, us programmers are like, oh, I can do JavaScript, I can do this, I can do that. No,
Nope.
CSS,
Nope.
CSS only.
And now you've got your allow reschedule meeting and allow cancel meeting toggles. And again, going back to last week's or the first week's custom fields training, the appointment reschedule link and the appointment cancellation link are custom values that will only exist if these are turned on. And that will allow people to click to cancel or click to reschedule based on those links. And then you've got your additional notes. These will actually show up in the calendar event when it gets booked. So that's hopefully the longest one we're going to do, because this is literally all of the functions in the vast majority of the calendars. Let's go and book an appointment and see what happens. So we're going to go 1:30. Now let's do 2:30 today. And we're going to go name, email, phone number, and test. And I confirm that I want to receive this goodness. We are unable to schedule your appointment. I think I did that in the wrong timeout. Let's go get the new URL.
You did, yeah. I was about to say you did it.
I changed the URL structure to show you guys that. So that's why it didn't work. Let's go back here. There we go. This was what I changed before. Now, this is the simple calendar structure, look, and feel. So you saw the Neo previously. This is the simple calendar structure. And you'll notice that I actually cannot book for the 15th because I set my minimum booking notice to 12 hours and I don't work weekends. So let's go and book myself for the 18th at 1 p.m. Select date. And now we're going to get the basic questions. And yep, let's add a guest to this. We're going to add my good buddy Brendan Barth over here. Brendan at rmmarketing.ca. Book the appointment. Just additional information that'll get added to the appointment if they choose to fill it out. I'm going to skip it. And now I'm going to go into my calendar. I'm going to check next week. Where is it? I did set it up correctly. Let's go into calendars right now and see if we can see it. Nope, it did not book it. Is this a case of Highlevel being high-level-y? Possibly.
Like Josh said, yeah, they just did a major update within the last 24 hours on calendars.
Yeah,
so bugs.
Could be a little bit glitchy. But yeah, your calendar appointment will show up here, and then it also will show up here in your actual calendar. So that is simple calendars. Let's go back into our calendar settings and talk about kind of the rest, because the rest of these calendars all have very similar structures. And there's one very important thing that you need to do when dealing with these calendars, because as you saw with the event calendar, we were able to tell it specifically which one of these calendars we wanted this appointment to get booked in. With round robin, collective booking, and class booking calendars, the structure is a little bit different. And I'm actually just going to go really quickly into the round robin structure. So round robin calendars allow you to have multiple users in a calendar that can be assigned to the leads. This calendar requires this is what I'm talking about, that the user assigned to this calendar, in this calendar, have their calendar settings set up on their profile page in order for this to function properly. And I should really have this entire thing bolded because there is a very important step that a lot of people miss when talking about round robin calendars. And let me preface this. Round robin calendars are our favorite. We use them just about for everything.
Almost exclusively.
Almost exclusively use round robin calendars. And one of the reasons why we want to do that is because with round robin calendars, we can set up different priorities and different meeting locations by default. So again, if you turn on your Zoom integration and you select Zoom as the meeting location, which I can't because I haven't been able to connect it, this is what will create dynamic Zoom meeting links.
Well, that user doesn't have a Zoom.
This user does
You
not
have
have
Zoom.
Zoom. Well, but the Zoom account that I tried to log into is already being used in like several other accounts, so I couldn't do it.
Right.
But yeah, this will create a dynamic Zoom link, dynamic Google Meet link, phone number, address information for that contact. And we use this literally for every single one of our meetings. So this is one of the biggest differences between the round robin calendar and the event calendar is that you can choose based on the user settings, which is why I went over that in the first place, what settings are actually going to be used for that user's calendar. Now, I'm going to close out of this and I'm going to come back to it because this is another really, really important setting. When you as the agency owner go into My Staff, now they can also do this themselves if they have permission to do this. But GHL Mastery, I'm going to go and edit this one. And one of the most important things to do is that you actually have to go in here and assign a calendar to this user so that when they get booked from a round robin booking or an event booking or whatever, it knows which calendar it's actually supposed to be booking it in, especially if you've got multiple calendars. So you do need to set this up. And then again, important is to set up all of this stuff. Now, you, the agency owner, can actually do this for your clients as long as they've actually connected their Google integration for you. If they haven't done that, then you won't be able to use this stuff. You'll just get a little error saying that, hey, this account has not been connected yet. But once it is connected, you, the agency, can actually set this stuff up for them. So again, I want to stress, if you're using any other calendar other than event or simple calendar, you need to come into the user profile and assign them a calendar. Otherwise, the round robin calendar won't know where it's supposed to book this appointment. So I just want to make that super, super clear. All right, back to round robin calendars. Another feature and function of round robin calendars is the ability to add multiple users to this calendar. So if you've got a sales team or your clients have a sales team and they want to round robin the leads, what this will do is optimize for availability. So Brendan and I do this with our onboarding calls. We have optimized for availability. If I'm not available because I'm doing kid stuff or he's not available because he's doing kid stuff, the other person will end up getting that appointment. And if both of us are busy, that slot will not show up. So again, that is why it's important to have both users' calendar structures and settings set up with a default calendar. Because if it's not done, then Brendan may show availability where he's not actually available. And then people can book a call and Brendan ends up getting double booked. So it's super, super important that you have those settings done on the user side before you set this up. But now we can either go ahead.
The nice part about that also is that actually allows 2 slots. So if we have this, if 11 o'clock is available for both of us, Adam is prioritized as the higher priority. So he gets first slot, but 11 o'clock is still open for the next person that comes through the calendar system because I'm available.
Correct.
So it allows 2 slots in that time slot.
Correct. Now, optimizing for equal distribution does something similar, but if both Brendan and I are available in the same time slots, I'll get the first one, Brendan will get the second one, I'll get the third one, Brendan will get the fourth one. That's how it's set up by design. Now, this will still override it if Brendan's just not available at all that day. It will still show just my availability for that day. in the actual group calendar. Let's make this one blue. All good. Availability is going to work the same way. Now, again, I want to stress this is calendar availability. This is not user availability. This is what time slots do you want to have available for this entire group or round robin structure. And then Brendan and I each individually will have our own availabilities in our personal calendars, and that will take into account when people actually go and book this. We've got forms and payments here. So you guys can actually collect additional information from people by using custom forms that you create in the form section under sites. If you wanted to do that. So one of our calendars, we ask, hey, what are you calling about? Select what you want to talk about, and then give us more information about why you booked this call. And so that way, when I get on a call, I know exactly why you want to have a call with me. Sticky contact still in place. Consent checkbox still the same. Adding guests still the same. Confirmation page and URL redirect and auto confirmation of the meetings. I just realized why simple didn't work, because I said I was going to show you guys something by turning off auto confirm appointments. So I'm gonna pause and I'm gonna go back to that. So let's click save here and let's close out of it. So remember, everybody.
And I'm guessing you did not set up a workflow to notify you.
I haven't, but that doesn't matter. But that doesn't matter.
Right. You should just to clarify, you should have that to notify you or
yes,
your person that they got a request for.
So there is a default request or a default request that does go out. But I don't have my email open, so I can't see it. Now, remember with the simple calendar, I actually turned off auto confirm appointment. And the reason that I was like, hey, why isn't this appointment showing up? It's because it's not confirmed. That's why. So when you go into your calendars and appointments, non-auto confirmed appointments will show up with new and action required. You will get an email saying, hey, you have a new appointment request. Click here to confirm it. When you click here inside the email, it's actually going to take you to this page. Now, in order for that appointment to go, I have to go and I have to confirm it. And now that I've done that, there it is. It worked. What a beaut. All right. So there's a quick little backtrack on the simple calendar. Let's go back into round robin. I don't think there's much else that I need to show you here that I didn't already show you, but this is the most important function inside the round robin calendar. And like I said, this one's our favorite one. We use it all the time. Now, for notifications and additional options, the acknowledgement email, I am going to send it to the contact, and I'm also going to send it to the assigned user, because when using a round robin calendar, when I've got multiple users, whichever user gets that appointment, I can choose this option right here. Assign contacts to the respective calendar team members each time an appointment is booked. So let's say I'm already a lead in the system and I am assigned to Adam. If they rebook and get Brendan's calendar, that lead is going to be reassigned to Brendan. So the user assignment will actually show Brendan at this point. The other option that you have is to skip assigning the contact if the contact already has an assigned user. So in that case, even if the lead gets booked with Brendan, they will still be assigned to me. Okay. Now, one downside of group calendars that I have experienced myself is that if you have multiple team members and they are assigned to Brendan, and I want to go book another call with Brendan, if I go to the team calendar, I could get rebooked with somebody else. It's not going to specifically say Brendan. In that case, anytime that you have a user assigned to a lead and you want them to go specifically to that user's calendar, remember the default calendar setup that I did on the user profile, because that is a custom field that you can book. And I believe it's user.calendar_link. And so anytime a lead already exists in the system, if you want them to book with that specific rep, you need to use user.calendar_link for them to get Brendan's calendar that Brendan has been assigned in his user profile. Does that make sense? That sounded a little bit confusing to me. So I want to make sure that all of the VIP folks in here, thumbs up if that made sense to you, or if you actually need me to show you. Going once, going twice, carrying on. All right. This is the only additional function inside the group calendar setting. So let's go into the next ones. I'm going to go to class booking calendar because this has some new features that I want to cover. Again, the overall setup of this calendar is virtually the same, virtually the same as the round robin calendar, where you can have multiple team members in these calendars. And this time we're booking classes, which means we can have multiple people book a class at the same time, meaning one slot can have 10 people booked in it. So no difference in the meeting details structure. There's very little difference in the availability, with the exception of seats per class. So this will allow you to now book multiple seats. And the new add-on that Highlevel did is that you can actually now see how many seats are available or remaining in the calendar, which I will show you once we go through the settings here.
Which is good, because we had a use case of that just a couple months ago and it wasn't available.
Yeah.
So
for sure. Now this stuff is all the same. I'm not going to go over that. Notifications, again, you probably are going to want to notify the assigned user that a new appointment has been booked. Again, none of these things matter if you send all this information in your workflows. So when an appointment is booked in this calendar and you send an internal notification and you send the contact a confirmation, these are not required. You don't need to click these off. Otherwise, you're going to be doubling up on notifications. I'm just going to turn those off. I usually turn this one on still, because I still want people to actually say yep and then add that to their calendar, even though it's auto confirmed. And then this is the same structure as we just went over with the round robin calendar. And then we've got customizations. Let's call that good. Okay, I'm going to actually show you what the class calendar looks like. So we're going to copy the scheduling link here. We're going to come over here. We're going to paste it here. Now, when I pick a date or a time, it shows me how many seats are available in each individual slot that I have the option to book that day. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to book at 9 a.m.
Perfect for a yoga class.
I'm going to use myself and I'm going to schedule it. Now, here's one thing that I don't love about this, and I'm going to show you. So let's go into here and look at the 9 a.m. yoga class has Adam McInnes. Now, if I book the second one for the same day, why isn't the same day showing up? Or did I book it on the 18th?
You did the 18th.
I did the 18th. There it is. So there it is. 9 a.m. 9 seats are available. This is awesome. This is great. I'm going to do Steve Jobs. Here's what's going to happen. Which, again, I'm not a fan of this, but it still works. It's going to create two different appointments inside your own Google Calendar. So if you've got a class that has 100 seats available and 100 seats get booked, you are going to have 100 of these cards that will be on your calendar. I don't love that, but it's certainly better than nothing. And I do like the fact that
I will say this, in that scenario, create a second calendar for that specific class and link this to that specific calendar in your Google. That way you can toggle it off and you don't have to see the thousands of people that are being booked in those slots.
Yeah, for sure. So that's class booking. I personally love the fact that they added the seats. This was not available before, and now it is. And I think that's an absolute money add-on by Highlevel. So good job, Highlevel dev team, if you ever watch this. Okay, last one, guys, is the collective booking calendar. Now, again, this is very, very similar to the round robin structure. The only difference is that both users that you put in this calendar will be added to the appointment. So this is a way for you to add multiple team members to a call at the same time. So if I book an appointment in here and both Brendan and I are in here, this is going to book that same appointment on both of our calendars, assuming availability. Again, I haven't tested this. We've actually never used this one. So I don't really know exactly how that would function. But we've got these two users, and it will, I think probably it's going to go to the owner location. That would make the most logical sense. And then the other one is a backup location that you can switch who the owner is of this particular calendar. But at the end of the day, if somebody books on this calendar, they're going to get booked with me and they're going to get booked with Brendan. And it will show up on both of our calendars. And that is really the only major difference in the collective booking calendar. All the other settings are exactly the same. So that is the overall calendar structures, kind of use cases for them and what you might want to use them for. Now, I'm going to show you guys groups because this is another one that confuses the heck out of a lot of people, is what are groups? Let's go and create a demo group. This is a demo. We're going to use the Neo function, and I'm just going to say this is a demo. Again, this has to be a completely unique slug. If it matches anybody else in the Highlevel ecosystem, it won't work. So we're going to
because it puts it on their server in a unique slot so it can access it.
So now group demo has 0 calendars in it right now. So what we actually have to do is we have to come over here and we have to move these calendars to a group. Now, by doing this, the existing previous link is going to change slightly. You'll get a new one. So if I go here and I grab this copy scheduling link, this individual calendar is still available to be booked. Now let's also go and add the simple calendar to that group. Now we've got 2 different calendars assigned to that group. Well, why would you want to do that in the first place, Brendan? Let's go and we're going to copy the scheduling link for this group.
There's 2 main reasons to do this. The front end, which Adam's showing you now, is kind of nice, but I like the back end, which Adam will show you in a minute from an administrative standpoint.
So here's a use case for this. I want people to book 15-minute calls with me, 30-minute calls with me, and 1-hour private consultations with me. So I would create a calendar group for Adam McInnes, my person. And so Adam would actually have 3 different calendars, right? And all 3 of those calendars can be put into a group. And then inside that group, people can select which calendar they actually want to book in. They can book in the 15-minute or the 30-minute, or they can do the 1-hour paid consultation. And it gives the user the choice of meeting duration or meeting type or whatever the case may be. This might also be a great way to have sales reps. If you want to have a group calendar where you've got multiple sales reps and somebody knows their sales rep, so they want to just go into the group calendar on their website and select, I want to talk to Brendan today. They can just go and click on Brendan's calendar and book with Brendan. So that is kind of the group structure. I'm not going to go into it today because we're already at just about an hour here, but one of the things that you can do inside workflows is you can set collective group triggers. So if an appointment is booked in any of the calendars in this group, you can fire a trigger, or you can just narrow it down to the specific individual calendar inside that group. So, I mean, for us, we've got 3 different types of calendars, and 2 of the 3 of them are in the same group. So we can just have one trigger that will fire off of all of our calendars in our appointment reminders, and just helps us save a bunch of time. We don't have to create different workflows for, 5 or 6 different calendars. We just create the workflows for the groups, so that depending on what's booked, those appointment reminders will go out to the groups.
Now, another great feature from an admin standpoint of group calendars is now you have a group calendar in the calendar section of Go Highlevel. So from an admin standpoint, if you have, like, let's say it's a car sales rep, you have your 5 salesmen booking appointments, you can go to group calendars and see all 5 calendars in one display.
Yeah.
So that's
this is what he's talking about right here. You can see the groups, you can see all the salesmen, and you can click that and it will show every single appointment booked in any one of those group calendars on this from an admin standpoint.
Yeah.
So super handy, super convenient. And that was an absolute mouthful of a workshop for calendars. I hope that any of you guys watching this, if you are still watching this live or on the replay, I hope that was helpful and beneficial to you. Because this, like I said, is the most questions we get asked in any group that we're ever in is calendars. And so there was a very high level overview of all the different calendar structures for you. And hopefully you guys understand that and can put those to good use. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week. Take care.